The chief executive of Bell Pottinger, James Henderson, resigning over the weekend, over the work done. They hired a big law firm in London to do an investigation into themselves, and the report came out, and he said, well, I can't stay chief executive anymore, so I'm going to step down. And then, breaking story this evening on News 24, News 24 breaking an embargo this evening. The embargo was from the Public Relations and Communications Association in the UK, saying that Bell Pottinger is being kicked out of the association. Let's get the response of Lord Tim Bell this evening, former chairman at Bell Pottinger. What do you make to that breaking news this evening, Lord Tim Bell, that the firm that you founded has been kicked out of the Professional Industry Association in the UK?
It's very sad for it. It's a great pity. They've done something very stupidly, got themselves in that situation.
I mean, when we look at it, this time, you were still, I think you just stepped down from Bell Pottinger this time last year. You stepped down toward the end of August last year. Please remind us why it is that you did step down back then.
I left for a number of reasons, one of which was because they were handling the Gupta account.
The handling of the Gupta account. It was an account which you were instrumental in getting signed up. I saw some quotes attributed to you the other day detailing how you flew on the Gupta's private jet between Johannesburg and Cape Town. I mean, you were part of sourcing a £100,000 a month retainer for Bell Pottinger while you were there.
I did the initial visit, paid the first visit. We were asked to go over and see the Guptas, and I went over to see them. That's all right, my involvement, the total amount of my involvement. I came back and said to the company we couldn't handle it because of a conflict of interest. And
what was the conflict of interest that you saw at the time?
It conflicted with Richemont, with Mediclinic, with several South African clients that we were working for.
Yeah, so you saw those, and Investec as well. So the companies that have subsequently dropped Bell Pottinger as a client, was that the warning that you gave to James Henderson? Did he insist on pursuing Oakbay regardless of your warning?
Yes, he did.
And wait, I mean, I see you another quote attributed to you that the Gupta account, you described it as smelly. What is smelly in the City of London speak?
Smelly means exactly what it says. It's smelly. You don't feel comfortable with it.
I mean, but Bell Pottinger is a company that over many, many years has dealt with Augusto Pinochet and other people who other people might regard as smelly. What defines a company, an account that is smelly?
It never dealt with Augusto Pinochet. It dealt with the Pinochet Foundation.
Okay, but the association is there.
Well, it can be if you want to draw a conclusion, but it's not accurate.
And what do you make of James Henderson stepping down as chief executive of Bell Pottinger?
I think it's the beginning of a tide of resignations.
Is this the end of Bell Pottinger?
No, not necessarily, but it could be. Might be, might not be. Depends on the will of the people who own the business, which include Henderson.
Do you have any shares in Bell Pottinger anymore?
No, I sold my shares over a year ago.
The fact that your name is over the door, how much of a concern is that to you?
It's a concern for me. It's not a major concern. I have a separate reputation as an individual in my own right, and I have a reputation as the founder of Bell Pottinger. Everybody knows I'm not the founder of Bell Pottinger anymore, and everybody knows I'm a completely separate individual.
We had Peter Hain in studio the other day. He comes from the opposite side of the political spectrum to you. He is also in the House of Lords, and he told us he'd be raising questions in Parliament over your role in the saga, the role that you played in that first meeting with the Guptas, being part of Bell Pottinger, which until you left in August last year was carrying out underhand activities on behalf of Oakbay Investments. Are you comfortable taking those questions in Parliament?
He can ask any other questions he likes. I'll answer them. If he gets around to asking them, I'll answer them. He hasn't asked any questions yet.
No, he has assured us that he most certainly will. When you look at the affair of the last, say, 2 years, the introduction of the Guptas to Oakbay, to the fact that you felt uncertain about the work that was going to be required, was it clear up front? You said there was going to be a conflict of interest between working for Oakbay, that you saw a conflict of interest in doing work for Richemont and Investec and for Mediclinic. Was it clear to you, and did you make it clear to James Henderson, that this was going to be a campaign that would not only undermine those companies, but would also undermine South Africa's political and social stability?
I don't think it was at that time clear that that's what the campaign was intended to do. I think when the campaign started, it started off on a perfectly legitimate basis of wishing to promote emancipation of people, and it became a very toxic mix, resulting in the racist row that went on.
Well, what should happen to James Henderson? He remains a shareholder. He remains on the board of Bell Pottinger. What should happen next, in your opinion, as somebody who has been in this business of communications in London for?
I think the other directors of the company should resign. I think the other directors of the company should resign, with the exception of Bell Pottinger, who's innocent of any charge, and spend his life in Singapore, not involved in what goes on in London or South Africa. And I think the company should offload its shares to other people, and the company should be run by somebody else.
Is it feasible that James Henderson was lied to, that Victoria Gahagan, who carried out the work for Oakbay, did it without approval of James Henderson and others?
I think it's impossible. I know their relationship was very close, and she would have told him what she was doing. He would have known.
So it would have come. So the instructions would have come from the top, or at least he would have known about it. So what he is telling us in the public domain is not true.
They would have been approved. Herbert Smith's report says that he didn't know about it, but should have done. I don't think that's true. I think their work will show that he did know about it.
Lord Tim Bell, horrible line quality this evening, but the former chairman of Bell Pottinger on the line to us from London. Breaking news this evening, and that is that Bell Pottinger, the PR company, being kicked out of the Public Relations Association. We spoke to them about 2 months ago, said they'd be having their inquiry.